Invictus Gaming versus JD Gaming, game number 1. Now, I've seen game 2 and 3. I actually haven't seen game 1 of this series, so that's going to be a fun one to look at. In case you guys want a little bit of refresher, something I always like to talk about when it comes to the LPL is combined kills per minute stat. 1.04 is the one I've been talking about on Listen Loco and also on the VOD review stream of how bloody Invictus Gaming games are. As a counterpoint, TOP Sports or Top Sports at 0.68 have higher combined kills per minute than any team in the LCK. So very much an action-packed region. So for all the people looking for bloodbaths, hopefully we can find some. Kind of interesting that the playoff meta, obviously with smaller sample sizes, you had Invictus Gaming kind of more towards the middle of the pack, but close to their normal numbers, and RNG actually having the highest combined kills per minute. So the stat's obviously misleading, giving sample size, but it does let you know that it was certainly an action-packed playoff series. Yeah, I mean, they're a very, very strong team. Low deaths on Rookie is 2 deaths a game, so it's just so more bloody other games. You know, Teddy died 4 times in 6 games of playoffs, and then everyone here played 2 less games and has way more deaths. So just lets you know the games are played really differently. But yeah, very high death numbers. Like a lot of people around the 100 mark. And for support, that's normal. But Ning definitely gets frisky and likes to get in there and really brawl a lot. Like Ning is so up and down in regular season, which can be a treat to watch. And IG, you know, they've been a lot of things in the regular season of the LPL. They've been up and down. They've lost way more games. They lost more games in one split than they lost in the entire year, regular season-wise. Because they only lost 2 games last year. They lost double that amount of games in one split. And yet, I think for a lot of people, they came in big favorites. Some people were optimistic that there could be an upset here. But your read against IG is I think, going to define a lot of teams' fortunes at MSI. Is what is your read on how to beat IG? Everyone knows that the Shy and Rookie are super good. They are awesome laners. So, like, you know, most top laners are like, ooh, counterpicking the Shy. Can I do it? Is it going to work? What champions can I run against him? And that's at the basic level. But being able to contend with IG is you need solo lane strength. You need an answer to proactive macro that can sometimes just overwhelm you in the first 15 minutes. There's just games IG plays where 12 minutes in, the enemy team has a 0% chance of winning. That's how much of a control over the game IG have been able to enact. And then they can be unreliable in their mid to late game transition because sometimes they're too bold for their own good. But are you there even, and can you recognize the few instances where you can get something out of IG? Is the queries we often have against IG. So, talking about the draft here, Ning's taken off the Rek'Sai. You know, it's been something that gives him super agency in the early game. That part makes sense. The Varus ban might actually be playing into the Varus Tahm Kench. It can be a Jackie Love special. To me, as a Draven player, through and through over time, but you know, the Varus lane dominance that the LCK was showing later is something the LPL is well known. And the Sylas ban is much, you know, a very standard one. Ban phase obviously super different to what we were seeing in the LCK. Luvmao actually takes a Bard ban in the first round. You know, he's really well known for his fiddlesticks. He plays a lot of these crazy supports, which makes him really entertaining to watch. Like, he's kind of my new want to track from afar support. I really like the way he plays the game. Like he plays champions like Fiddle with mastery, and not many people play mastery level Fiddle. At least in the LCK, no one plays him at all. So that part made sense. A lot of people would have seen the Zoom highlights before this series. His GP is awesome, but Ryze first pick is a lot to give IG because Rookie and the Shy can both use this champion. My opinion on Ryze at 9.6, even to 9.8 power level, because there were no Ryze changes, that Ryze is the strongest champion in the game now that Sylas has been nerfed. I would go Sylas Ryze, maybe even Ryze Sylas on 9.6, and obviously Sylas falls away on 9.8. Ryze's ability to be first picked and always give you something is even more than it used to be. Because it used to be that, well, even if the lane sucks, at least he's got a single target route, and that was the best case. But now he plays mid lane, and if you want to counter pick him, you have to counter pick in a way that's a last pick because he can be so easily flexed top. Now, he is a lot more counter pickable in mid. You can take Orianna against it. Pretty good matchup for Ori. You can go a hard counter matchup like the Vel'Koz does very well into him. Malzahar can be run to him. There's a lot of situational champs that aren't flex picks that you can run into Ryze mid lane and win. However, Ryze top lane has almost no bad matchups. In the top lane, he is almost uncontestable by basically every meta champion. Like, he steamrolls almost every top laner. And in a perfect case of what to pick against him on 9.6 with Sylas banned, you're already thinking, like, I guess you could try Cannon and all-in him, but it's not that good a matchup, and he can build against it. There's very few champions. Cassiopeia top could be run into it. I know at times LS has talked about Orianna top, but I think Orianna top, you can't play ball control top lane with a long lane anywhere near as easily as mid, so I'm not a big fan of the Ori top idea. Neeko can work against it. Decipher brings that one up, but we saw Nuguri smash Neeko, even though it was QV's Neeko, going into Comet Rise. So you can even change a keystone and out-trade something like the Gnar. The Neeko. So there's the fact that you can move away from some of the champions you would at first think of as top lane and lose is scary. That's why Ryze first pick is just tremendously, tremendously scary because it scales so well. It has great gank assist. Ning already wants to play super proactively most of the time, so giving Ryze to the team is just scary. And the resulting trade is they get Varus off the board, which I think you just ban Ryze and deal with Varus going to the side of JDG. So because it's not going to be first pick, so you're probably going to get it anyway. So I don't really know what the Varus ban takes away. It seems very unlikely it would have been a first pick to IG, so I think JDG might have got it anyway. Varus does take away some viable AD carry options, depending on what Varus lane it is, but I really think you didn't have the liberty to make that work. Do you think we need to see another set of Riot reworks? Yes. I was telling Riot Balance Team that they should nerf the mana ratios on Riot because the tanky build was overtaking, and if you go, death cap, then at least there's a trade-off. You're not as tanky, but I think he's just overall too strong and does too many things. Very strange to see it not banned. It's frequently banned in the LCK. So Brahm's locked in from the bot lane, and they take Xayah Rakan. Now, Braum can stop the feathers short, but what AD carry wins this lane with Braum? Like, you kind of need Braum Varus to even win this lane. Like, Braum Varus is pretty strong against Xayah Rakan because Braum stops the feathers, the Varus ults Rakan, and you just kill him because he's super squishy. Or you force him to take cleanse, which is not ideal for trading. Other than that, I don't know if any Braum lane beats Xayah Rakan. So I feel like already Xayah Rakan puts you in a really rough spot as JDG. Because Ryze can obviously just follow Lissandra and super outscale and even in the early game out-trade Lissandra. So already you're in a really tricky spot draft-wise. And they end up going Kai'Sa Braum, which definitely doesn't beat Xayah Rakan. So now you're thinking, okay, what did JDG have? What are they going to do with this draft? Now, we already talked about primary objectives against IG is deal with solo laners and deal with early game power. Already, JDG have given up on that. Like, you got 2 losing lanes already in almost every scenario where Lissandra and Ryze end up in this game. So you're, like, already in a really tough spot, I think, draft-wise, as JDG. So the only thing you can do is try to say, all right, well, let's have a comp with really high internal consistency, play the early game perfectly, and then get the 5v5 on. Do people recognize this man by any chance? So the new IG boss, who came in halfway through the season, or IG coach, I guess we should call him, came from BBQ Oliver's. So technically, LS took this man's job, and then he took over IG's team. So that's kind of an interesting career move by all. Quite the career trajectory change. It was away from coaching for a while, and then now coach of the favorites for MSI. Yeah, I don't know how it happened. I was very surprised to see him there. Speaks good English. So ban-wise, you're expecting a flex laner, which is why the Akali ban comes in. I think that's fine. I think Akali power level right now is very high. A lot of flex lane is banned away, and so we'll see where the counter pick will go. Flawless having to ban Lee Sin when they have first pick on red side feels pretty bad, given Flawless's history. I understand he's underplayed that pick a little bit recently, but the only reason to ban Lee Sin here when you have Flawless on the team is if you're like, okay, we scrimmed one style and we can play it well. And that's why the Nocturne makes perfect sense. Nocturne is a combo draft piece from JDG. I think if you ban Lee Sin and don't take Nocturne here, like you just screwed the draft yourself. So what this allows is that, yes, they're very likely to have a lot of lanes that aren't great on paper, but they're going to have a lot of ability to out 2v2 and 3v3 people, because it will often be 3v2 or 2v1, because Lissandra hits a side lane, Kai'Sa can kill us instant in on either the Ring of Frost or Lissandra ultimate. Nocturne can dive in with the Lissandra CC at the same time. So you're already going for a global pick comp and 5v5 comp on the side of JDG. Like you've already said, it's in team fights we trust, or if we can get our side lanes in good order and don't lose the early game hard enough, we can maybe make something happen. So that's a lot. That's the keys to the car. And your issue with a draft like this, and we don't even know all the picks yet, is that JDG have given the keys to the race car to IG. The reason why I say race car and not just car is you're basically at this point assuming you're going to lose all three lanes to some degree. Probably two bad, and then one of them's like kind of competitive. And you're giving it to IG, who are the regular season race car, of just taking over games and deciding them super early with sick mechanics and the ability to just play aggressively and just innately understand aggressive play better than most teams in the world. Like they are kind of the market leaders on the maximum possible in the early game. So I feel like JDG with 4 champs in have gotten multiple lane counterpicked, and already the line is like, ooh, if we lose 4 turret plates, 3-4 kills, and down 3,000 gold at 12 minutes, like that's probably a decent early game for us. Like that's so much to give up to IG. Like I think this is like super a lot to give up to IG for the payoff of, well, some of our combos are good. I don't think you can take combo drafts anymore. I think JDG's style, like the draft they end up with, because I know they last pick Ornn. So IG had 2 lanes now that beat Lissandra. So it doesn't matter where Lissandra goes. She loses to Ryze. She loses to Zoe. So the Zoe pick here is a great one. And then they just picked the strongest skirmishing jungler. And it's an early game, I want to fight at level 2 jungler versus a level 6 jungler. So that part is straightforward. And JDG kind of have to go Ornn to make any sense of this. But Ornn also loses to Ryze, right? Like maybe with gank assist it can be fine. And you think about JDG's draft, and if there are no turret plates and you outplay them in the early game and don't fall for the bait, eventually Ornn Nocturne comes online, Lissandra Nocturne comes online, Kai'Sa Nocturne Lissandra, Kai'Sa Nocturne Ornn. These are all great combos to punish a Ryze overextend, to catch a Zoe in the mid lane. All of these combos are very, very powerful. But these drafts have been outdated largely in the 2019 meta, because combo drafts where you need to have all your ducks in a row, dot your I's, cross your T's, just end up not being able to do anything in the first 14 minutes when they're waiting on ults, when they're waiting on items. The enemy team gets turret plates, which are new in the game in 2019 and means that item leads are much stronger in the early game. And then it gets to a point where JDG says, okay, we pushed up our waves. We managed to do that. Let's all in this guy. And he's just got an extra 1,000 gold worth of items. Or, even worse, the deep wards go down around the item leads and Ning is just all over your jungle, battle warding your jungler. Nocturne never even gets to combo ult. And then Ryze just beats Ornn. And Zoe just beats Lissandra. And Zyra Khan just beats Kai'Sa Braum. And then you're just fucked. And that's what happens against IG in a 2019 meta. Like, it's insane to me that you would try to draft let's get everything together comp against IG. Like, yes, you could win if IG made a lot of mistakes, but like, to say this was bold from JDG is a big understatement. Like, you're smirking if you're the Shy. You're like, all right, cool combos you have. It's a combo draft. It's Ornn ults as Nocturne comes in. How do I juke away from the call the Forge Guard when I can't see it thanks to the vision restriction? Okay, Nocturne's on top of me. I can't deal with that. I can't be peeled because my peeling person's knocked up. Oh, Kai'Sa flew in like shit. Like, it's all over. You get it, right? Like, and there's validity to that. But when IG get on the blue side 3 winning lanes and there's turret plates that mean that you're not going to get to those places even unless IG make big mistakes, you're preying upon the world champions to screw up. And you should never be doing that, in my opinion. So I think IG is ready for teams to come in like this. And that's why I go back and I look at this draft. And I think, you know, how would it be different if SKT played? Because, you know, we're saying that IG is the aggressive team and the SKT's agency recently has been defensive. Where do the changes come in? I think the big difference is they don't allow the Ryze headaches. The Ryze headache's not there. And then from there, their 2v2 lane is more competitive. And even in the scenario where they got the first round here and they're like, okay, the Zyra Khan surprised us, like, Kai'Sa Braum needs help. They would never, ever take Nocturne in this spot when they already don't have an answer to Ryze, don't know where they can send their Lissandra safely, and lost in the 2v2. Like, you can't just say, screw it, all in here, and then Ornn is even further into that team fight only. Like, they could have gone Xin Zhao and tried to brawl 2v2. And yes, then Xin Zhao potentially opens himself up to kind of a creative counterpick, but there's not that many that out-skirmish. Like, Jax is probably the best skirmishing matchup there. Maybe a Skarner to punish, but the damage is not there. Like, for sure, you just take Lee Sin here, right? You just don't ban Lee Sin. You ban maybe Zoe as a coverage ban for Lissandra. You take Lee Sin, and you pivot. But instead of pivoting, they all in on only team fights. So it just feels like there's, like, multiple areas where you could just get off the train. Like, this is the movie Speed, when, like, there were 3 rest stops and Tom Cruise just stayed on the bus, you know? Like, there were rest stops to pull away from this all in on just certain timing team fights, and they just doubly all in on. And if it gets to this point, I think IG rolls over SKT. Like, if these champions are there, I think IG win way more than they lose. But I think the more important thing is you don't get into a trap spot like this as JDG. So what happens when you're bold and draft all scaling against SKT? So against IG is, you know, what we hope to learn from this series. After we get over all the cool moments. Want to hear a funny story? So I'll give an inside story here. So you see how they edited out the sky and they put in the you know, spring finalist topside, which looks really awesome, right? It's so cool that you can have the custom art and then zoom out, and there's, you know, zoom and JDG and IG, this screen that you see here. Here's a fun leak thing. So the LCK final, which was played a week earlier, would have been the first final to be played globally. It was the first of the big 4. And we also had this tech done, and Riot had someone make, instead of, you know, this big splash of the champions, of the players, they made a splash of soul. So the immediate area around Jamshid Stadium, some people would have heard of Lotte World Tower, which is one of the tallest buildings in the world. is around this area. So they actually had a background made of all of Seoul, in place of what you see in this LPL fight. It looked awesome. Like, we were like, oh shit, this is going to be a really cool backdrop for the finals, you know, like, it's Summoner's Rift. Spoilers, no, Summoner's Rift is played in Korea, apparently. Like, you know, it was a cool idea. It looked good. They weren't able to use it because they went to all the trouble of making the background before they okayed with Lotte, using the image of Lotte World Tower, and it got declined. So they just had to cut it out. It was really, really sad. Oh, they went to all the trouble of doing the background, but they didn't actually okay the image of Lotte World Tower first. Oh dear, that was a snafu. So we ended up not having any cool background art at all, and every other region got to have cool background art. So maybe we'll reuse it in the future. Lotte, come on, please let us use the World Tower. It looked cool, but yeah, that was a whoopsie. So inside scoop there, the Papa leaks coming in. So, Rise versus Ornn. You know, Ornn is not hating this matchup, and he can build magic resist against double AP, but obviously doesn't have priority in the matchup outside of maybe like level 2. I think level 2 is fine. I think from like 4 onwards it gets hard. Zyra Rakan is definitely in a good spot against Braum Kai'Sa, because Kai'Sa can't really contend with it. The Zoe, you know, we saw Lissandra do well for a time, but it is a natural Zoe winning lane matchup, and obviously the jungle matchup is a huge skirmishing advantage. So there's really a lot going on for the side of IG, like we mentioned, and all JDG can hope for. The best case is that you go CS for CS, or as near as possible. If you ask me, PapaSmithy, pause the tape. At 20 minutes, let's bring it earlier, which is, you know, let's give JDG more credit. At 16 minutes, can they win this game? Can they like hit their winnings? And the answer is yes. At 16 minutes, they actually will have like 1 item completion on everyone. They'll have enough levels. The turret plates are down. If they're even in gold at 16 minutes, I think JDG have a huge compositional advantage, because it's hell for Zoe to try to play team fights against Lissandra or Nocturne. Like, that's just terrible for the Zoe to deal with. Rise is squishy in the side lane because he doesn't have any health items till much later in the game, so you just gank him again and again with Ornn Nocturne, or throw in one of Lissandra and Kai'Sa. At 16 minutes, 15 minutes even, so anytime after turret plates, if you're anywhere near, JDG have a great comp against IGs. So in 2018, I like their draft against IGs to some degree, because I think that the light at the end of the tunnel is realistic. But because it's IG and because it's the 2019 meta, definitely some different moments there. So Flawless already spotted, so obviously Ning going to have a lot of information about pathing. Vertical jungling actually is not that bad for JDG. Like, you actually don't care about vertical jungling here, because that means Nocturne gets his camps. So what you need to know about vertical jungling is that the moment vertical jungling is opted into by both sides, both junglers are getting the same amount of camps, short of, you know, one camp is ruined by, you know, one wolf being left up. Like, effectively getting like similar amount of camps. And because it's Nocturne versus Xin, if Nocturne runs at Xin, if Xin has backup, Nocturne dies. If Xin doesn't have backup, there's actually some weird like level breakpoints, like 4 and 5. There's a chance that Nocturne wins the 1v1 at level 5 with Lethal Tempo and the Fear Tether. But overall, Xin is going to be able to outskirmish. She's got priority lanes pushing, so it's kind of a moot point. All we're trying to say is that Nocturne's going to get every camp that Xin gets. And that's actually pretty good. He's getting 1 scuttle. He's getting a similar amount of camps. In the vertical jungling phase, if no ganks happen, Flawless will take CS for CS. So far, JDG are doing everything they want. Small freeze by Zoom, trying to tank the minions as much as possible. It's not much of a freeze, but we'll get a start. Wow, I saw those red feathers from Yagao on his back, and I was reminded of Game of Thrones. Weird. But first priority back means the best back timing is for the Zoe in the mid lane. So it's a 2-camp advantage. So Nocturne actually ended the vertical jungle. Didn't take the Gromp, which is a bit of a mistake here. He probably could have been more bold, but Nocturne had that duality where he's like, okay, can I really take the Gromp? And if I overstay for Gromp and die, then this whole plan is over. So it's kind of the understandable scenario. So Flawless, he's about 2 camps behind. Yeah, it's overall 2 camps behind because they both have 1 camp up as we speak. Top sides lost a minion wave, mid lanes lost a minion wave, bot lanes lost a minion wave. It's only 5 minutes in. These are natural lanes, i.e. the standard 2v2 and 1v1s that benefit IGs, and IG are able to run away with, and they had the jungle difference. So nothing was spotted there. So that's, yeah, there's no pings onto him. So he's going to get the scuttle for free. But so far, no punishment. Like, so far, IG are not as far ahead as would worry JDG. Like, if they get a free level 6 on everyone, it may not be 14 minutes, but it's something towards their end goals of being able to combo ultimates. Nice to see the free Ocean here. You look at the lane states. With 3 pushing lanes, Zin's not going to turret dive pre-6. So you take the free Ocean. It helps Ryze and Zoe a lot. And actually, could it be? If you pause this game, like, if you think of teams that benefit from Ocean Drake, could IG really benefit that much harder? Like, tier stacker, check. So the Shy, who didn't go tier, but, you know, went lost chapter. Mana hungry top laner, loves Ocean Drake. Zoe wants to continue having priority in mid lane and push, loves Ocean Drake. Is there a more mana hungry AD carry than Xayah? Maybe Sivir? But Xayah would be second. It's why Essence Reaver is so core to her build. So actually, it's one of the best possible Ocean Drake comps from IG. They even have a mana user in jungle and support as well. So, yeah, really sick Ocean Drake here. Side question in chat I wanted to answer. I am done. Do you ever think Faker will become the unkillable Demon King again? I think the soul of that comment is, will Faker ever look like he did in Season 3, 5, or 6? And I would say no. I think the competition is significantly higher, and I think that Faker's overall level relative to the competition that was present in Season 3, to some degree Season 4 as well, but 5 and 6 definitely, cannot be recreated. There was Faker and the rest. Almost everyone was a pretender to Faker. Dade had some moments, but no one had a peak alongside Faker. Even Rookie was still on the building blocks time of his career, so given the soul of that nickname and what it represents, I don't think Faker can ever flex over competition to that level. That doesn't mean he can't become the world's best mid laner again. I think he's got quite a lot of work to do that right now. Like, he's definitely competitive, but for him to be overall 1, I think there's a few people he's behind. I think he can get there. I think that could happen. But for him to be the unkillable Demon King, no. Yugao, no lane priority. And this is just nameplates on chat matchup. It's a favorable matchup for Zoe. We don't always see it beat Lissandra, but Rookie has no pressure on him whatsoever because Flawless just isn't likely to be level 6 at this moment. Ryze, you know, he's still 10 CS up on the enemy and just pushing up. Like, they're pushing in 3 lanes, and those turret plates with no jungle ganks at all. 1 turret plate down and more to follow. But not a disaster yet for the side of JDG. Like, you didn't pick these lanes and last pick Ornn to win early. So, you know, it's not a disaster yet. Is kind of the glass half full thing you're saying as a JDG player. CS caught up in top side is good, but Ornn gets to cheat and gets to spend the gold, so he's obviously pretty happy. Nice accuracy from Rookie as well. So 1 wave bot lane, 2 waves mid lane, and about even top. Ornn gets to cheat, so it's pretty hard to beat him in CS, even with a pushing advantage for Ryze. And we reached level 6 on Flawless. So you have ult now. You got to Nocturne ult with an 800 gold disadvantage. Pretty good, really. I think the early game has gone better than expected for the side of JDG. like this is like almost the best case scenario for this draft. In the first half step, IG couldn't get anything out of it. But let's talk about the flow on it. So you say, you know, we paused it and we said, okay, pretty good. However, the other advantage that priority lanes give you, apart from just CS leads, is things like map control. The entire bot side river is controlled. You see actually a warning ping from someone on JDG saying we have no idea where the bot lane's at. So Rakan roam timing, as we can see on the minimap. Didn't mention it, but Baolan's Rakan is legendary, in case you guys aren't aware. I don't have his win rate offhand, but at some point it's a huge win rate. I think it's like 94% career win rate on Rakan over many games. We talked about it at Worlds. It's still a huge win rate. So Baolan's Rakan is huge. It's a free roam timing, and you know, with so much priority and so much ability to push, awesome. Gets the catch on. You have to get the catch there. Gets the interrupt on the glacial path. They get the first kill, and that's because they had the priority lanes to walk through. Braum gets their second. Flawless, even with his ult, gets their second. Crucially, Flawless ults, and they don't get a 1-for-1. So now our analysis of get to those ults safely is actually abated for 3 minutes, right? While we wait for Flawless's ult to come off cooldown. Maybe 2 minutes. Really nice roam timing. Yagao, you know, he could have played this a few different ways. He doesn't do himself any favors here, but it's more because of a product of being pressured the entire laning phase by the counter pick into then not making the optimal decision when he's ganked, and those things together really conspire against him. Talk in the chat about Nocturne ult timing. Let's watch when it's used. So you're right in that Flawless probably could have considered using the ult here. Like if you use the Nocturne ult here. But actually, I don't think it changes the Xin gameplay. You suggested it might change the Xin gameplay. Let's consider when you would ult. He's in charge range. Like, that doesn't change. Like, Xin's close to a melee champion, so I don't think actually the kill goes any other differently. So I agree that Flawless in a perfect world would have ulted earlier, but I don't think it actually changes anything. Thanks for the feedback, though. All right, so once again, you know, we consider that really it could have gone way worse for JDG with 3 losing priority lanes in a Xin. They've lost Ocean Drake and First Blood. So from big objectives, clear ones, that's all. However, it's a 1900 gold lead. A lot of the turret plates are still kind of there begging. And it's with IG not really breaking a sweat, right? And that's kind of your concern, is that this is one of the best case scenarios. And because Nocturne ult is on cooldown, it relieves pressure from the side lanes. Because now the side lanes can continue to play as if Nocturne is pre-6 Nocturne. And Raz is making the point, and it's a point that I'll raise if any team tries to play like this against IG is, how does JDG usually play? Well, Zoom is pretty good on top lane carries, right? His Gangplank especially is a big one. Look, Lamau, I love Mao. If I think of 2 champions for him, I think of Fiddle and I think of Bard, I think of crazy stuff. And he's playing the Braum, he's playing appealing style. They decided as a team to play a 5v5 pick style for moments like that, where you just see the Shy blown up, right? And there's nothing Ning can do. But that's multiple people dogging their natural style to pick something that doesn't cleanly fit the meta, and you're seeing organic 2v2, 3 turret plates taken. Oh, Jacula fail auto attack there. He cancelled his auto. Watch this one. Oh! Flash cancelled auto. Able to turn it around, and remember, you got those pushing lanes, you've still got the TP on the Shy, you're still able to make proactive moves, and this is reality hitting you in the face. Let's watch how this starts. So the initial premise here, as we slow it down. Well, let's get turret plates. Nocturne, Ornn just ulted top, and we know that Ornn doesn't have teleport. So you can make this play. The Shy's dead, remember. So we'll get turret plates. This is the natural result of having a winning 2v2, seeing tools use top side that now can't be used bot side. Absolutely greed for some turret plates, which is what we see IG do. They enter this 15 CS up. They get the turret play, and then Yagao says, I can back. Now notice Yagao is making this play without being able to push his wave. So if Zoe staged, he would have got a turret play and a half probably, but it doesn't happen. JackeyLove fail attack moves, as that's the flash failed auto there. But in this pressure, given all of that, the Lissandra comes in just to actually die. Like we watched the replay. First TP is from the Lissandra, but the more assertive TP is the team with the minion waves. They keep this minion alive. Yagao, yes, because of JackeyLove's fail, gets 1 kill, but this very easily could have been a 3-for-0. Such was the advantage here. And it just, whenever you pick drafts like this that are slow, that require Orin plus X, Nocturne plus X, the Orin and Nocturne are out, you're always going to be outnumbered, and IG just able to out-skirmish them. And you start to see what can easily happen. Like by 8 minutes, we're like, oh, JDG's actually surviving pretty well, all things considered. But by 12 minutes, you're like, oh, this gold lead's starting to get alarming. You know, the Drake been up for a while through all this play. They can take the Drake as the back-end objective. And when turrets die pre-14, it just means that, just like we saw from Griffin the previous game, you send your dual lane top, gives you Rift Herald control. That should be a pretty free objective for you. Your gal's having the world's worst life ever because it just sucks to be there. Now, Featherstorm's on cooldown. Balan plays this perfectly, by the way. He doesn't have quickness to start the play, but does have it by the end. Good call by JDG to make, again, those two-man plays. Nothing is wasted here. I was about to criticize him for a late redemption, but that was a Zoe redemption. Good play, though. They get a kill in the 2v2, and they get to push in bot side. So this is the sort of mistake IG is known to make. This is the sort of thing you want to watch, is this. If you're a team playing IG, you know, playing against kind of my hype of them as a top team to consider, it's moments like this where they go top, they don't have any idea where Nocturne is, they don't know where Orin is, I'm not sure when he stepped into the brush. They're just saying, let's get the turret plates top side because Braum and Kai'Sa stayed bot. But with Xin Zhao bot side, they don't have the information to push this far up. This with no Xayah ult for 20 seconds is a big mistake. What you want to do here is either slow push this wave until you have the Xayah ultimate, or fast push it, wait in a brush, and then catch the next minion wave. You can't greed for turret plates here when you don't have Xayah ultimate. So this is just a straight up mistake from IG. This is thinking, all right, JDG's low on confidence, they won't punish us. Credit to JDG for pulling the trigger. If you were going to go all in on this combo draft that needed to make picks like this, you can't miss windows like that. Kind of like how we talked about Griffin needing to fight for every objective with Talia Pantheon, otherwise don't draft Talia Pantheon. So there is a window there that we see that you can punish IG, and it is something they've been shown to do on every stage, is try to have their cake, eat it too, blog about it, you know, get some ramen, make it a ramen cake. I don't know, ramen on a cake, it could work. Like they do some of these over-the-top cascading, how could you ever get into that scenario plays, and they can be punished in a small ways through those areas. So always want to note where teams make mistakes, and that's definitely one of them. Because it does stabilize the gold. Like this gold was actually snowballing pretty significantly to the side of IG. This actually equalizes it for a moment when JDG shouldn't really have had the ability to actually contend at all. Someone in chat pointed out that said doo-doo. I appreciate that. I laugh about it too. Doo-doo's funny. But the actual core, so the basic idea of sending Xayah top lane is correct. You push out the wave, pull back, come back in, no longer have to worry about anything because you have the Featherstorm, and then Ning takes the Rift Herald. So this Rift Herald actually ends up being delayed, and as you can see, it's a contested Rift Herald because of the mistake specifically coming through from Jackie Love. It's so good. Every champion other than Ryze fights better at low item totals like this game is in. And Rookie, of course, hits that. Oh, outrageous. And these are the moments that scare you, man. You know, after making the big mistake. And then, you know, entering this fight with Ning on no health is another mistake. IG didn't need to do it this way, but it's such a nutty fight. Now, small thing I want to discuss before this begins. Watch the Rift Herald health. Hit the back side of the Rift Herald. Now, let's see when we see the Rift Herald again. Notice that Ning is actually going to not attack the backside of the Rift Herald after it opens. He could be hitting it at every moment, but what you want to do is you want to get the Rift Herald down to the lowest HP value where it still opens the backside, and then hit the other side of it, and then just take the guaranteed execute of the backside because you have Ryze walking down. You don't have to get into a awkward smite position when you can hold the backside of the Rift Herald hostage and not allow the enemy access to it because it's a much bigger execute than smite, right? If you watch here, it's down to 700. Way more damage than smite does this early into the game. So, well played in terms of that juggling. Now, they lose all of Ning's health bar because, again, the problem is that Jackie Love went all the way topside and died, so they didn't get the Rift Herald for free, kind of around 30 minutes 20 as a solo. And it actually gave time for JDG with the teamfight comp to walk up with all their ults up. Well, at least a lot of their ults up. They don't have Nocturne ult or an ult, but you know, this is the time to pounce. Ning is dead, and really the only problem is that your gal's out of mana, and a Lamau is pretty low as well. And yet, they still get scored because there's no longer any threat. The way this fight works is Ornn ults, Nocturne ults, and then Kai'Sa chooses her spot. And that should mean that one of Zoe or Xayah does no damage. Instead, they actually just put everything in on trying to kill Ryze, and then suddenly Kai'Sa's out of position completely. Like, there's no threat on Rookie at any point in the remainder of this fight. There's no threat on Jackie Love. And we can take this fight, it's 5v4. But their fight comp works when they have ults to throw specifically at carries and zone them away from doing damage. They don't have that here. And really beautiful cleanup. Really, really well played on this side. And now, you know, the 14, 15 minute mark that we were surprised JG got anywhere near. Like, this game really explodes into life. And it's the next back where the item timing is going to be felt the strongest. And it's one of those things where, you know, as JG, you can say, well, if only we had that final ult, right? If we only had Ornn ult to start, things would be different. And I suspect you're right. But if you don't have priority, you don't get to decide when and where fights happen very often. Even if you have the team fighting tools, what I want the chat to understand is that even though they have Ornn, Nocturne, Lissandra, they couldn't have Ornn, Nocturne, Lissandra, and map control around important objectives. They have to show up and contest IG, because IG took the champions that aren't as good for pure 5v5, but have the lane states such that people get first access to things like Rift Herald. So given that, you're very unlikely to have equal vision and the team fight ultimates ready to go and all be teleporting or in position first as JDG, because you can't draft for all those things as champions currently lie. There's too much of a champion pool that beats CC champions like Orin and Lissandra. There's too many champions that can take the early game and out early game a Nocturne. So because of that, yes, there's a world where as a JDG fan you're like, shit, if only we had everything. But you can't have all of that because it just doesn't exist. You cannot have the presence and also the ults and everyone in position in the Season 9 meta. That's just not how the game works fundamentally. It's too greedy. And it's the greed of JDG's draft that puts them in those scenarios where they have to fight without all the tools. Shy just trying to buy time. Yeah, it's a free pick onto Rise. And that's what we talked about, is the why. Why? Damn, that's a lot of damage on him. Why draft like this from JDG? Again, in previous seasons when there's not as much gold in the game as turret plates, the completed items you see on the side of IG are smaller constituent parts, and you just outnumber a Rise and blow them up again and again. It's no coincidence that Rise is back in the meta in Season 9 with almost no changes and wasn't really seen in Season 8. It's because a lot of things around him have changed. His general laning prowess and top with some matchups has improved, and his reliability to reliably push and be a flex pick is being prized. So map control, JDG haven't lost it completely, but the fact that we're saying that at 19 minutes is a worrying sign, a worrying trend, I guess you would say, because Baron hasn't even spawned, and that's the only reason that IG haven't started putting down Baron vision. And you just look at the items, and it's 2 items Xayah versus 1.5 item Kai'Sa. In the mid lane, you have Ludens against Ludens, double pen, and a blasting one, and a 10-stack Dark Seal. Jungle's about the same. There's not much there between the two. And the Shy has a build that lets him walk up, and he's got the Surge transformation. So he's not quite as tanky as Zoom, but he's not that far off either. So the item lead in effective stats here, especially if you face check a Paddle Star or Trouble Bubble, is pretty huge from IG. And again, it all comes back to the draft that set it up for that, and also some really nice play. This is kind of a vintage rookie game after he had what I would measure to be a pretty down split. Like, rookie was fine without being dominant in spring season of LPL. And that's, you know, everyone gets a season like that. Like, we're not going to criticize him for it, but it wasn't quite the rookie hard carry that it had been in some previous splits. Fellow Diddy in chat, why do Kai'Sas build Stormrazor? So the opinion of most Kai'Sa players is that if you go other builds and go, say, for example, the like stacking AD build, try to get that BF double pickaxe, having no attack speed feels really bad to get the Q evolve. The Stormrazor grab bag of stacks, and the fact that it gives the fastest possible 2 evolves, because when you finish Stormrazor, Rico Bow, Berserker Greaves pickaxe, you have both Q and E evolved. And the fact that you have the extra attack speed in lane is said to feel the best of all the options, and the 1 item power spike is not always easy to pay off. Like, it's not always easy to use the Q evolve at like super early, whereas the 2 power spike makes your team fight god already. That's the argument for going the Stormrazor build, because as you notice, it's not Stormrazor to amplify the healing from something like the Fleet Footwork. It is press the attack, and the only Stormrazor energized effect that you have, is the Stormrazor slow of itself and the bonus damage on hit. How do you get to Baron through this Kai'Sa? You probably don't, right? Do they have a blue trinket? They don't even have a blue trinket, so they're going to have to just paranoia on first target to make this happen. Yeah. There's never threat on Jackie Love and the Xayah. That's why I want you to remember. It's 3 carries, you know, because like Rise is a carry in of himself, which is a different problem, but The whole point is that Ornn, Nocturne, Lissandra means that 2 out of 3, and hopefully the Zoe and the Xayah, are never having high damage output. And what that means is the AD carry is never just min-maxing every auto and never like being zoned away from doing damage. So, for example, you know, if you're out of auto range, that means that Ornn and Nocturne are probably doing their job. If you're in Featherstorm, that's better than if you're free autoing as a Xayah and waiting for your perfect E. And for Zoe, it's you're never actually getting the paddle stars because you're so well capped. But in this all-in, firstly, Zoe's under no threat the entire time. But if you look at it, Jackie Love is actually free autoing for the entire start of the fight. Yagao can't even take the Glacial Path because he used the ult on really early in the fight. They don't even have threat on anyone other than Ryze at any point. You're being stretched. You're being stretched so far that you snap. And JDG is snapping this game. And I think more often than not, if you take this drafting approach against IG, they will snap you because they are a team that is very practiced at being proactive. Look, you can't get everything. They put down the blue trinket, it's cleared out, and they have to take the Ornn ult. But what does Ornn ult into Paranoia do? Xayah just shakes off the damage. Ning re-engages, and then Ning is way more of a zone control factor than Nocturne and Ornn. And then the question becomes, why did you draft Nocturne and Ornn? Bubble over the wall was very, very nice as well. But what I want to show, like, because this game, you know, IG win it, and spoilers, they win it very soon. It's not about the competition like our first series. It's about what will IG do to certain types of play. And I think of the big teams going to this tournament, MSI, definitely you have kind of a battle line in the middle, IG and G2 on one side, SKT and TL, at least based on recent performance on the other side. I don't think SKT ever get themselves into spots like this purely because I think they can't give up 3 lanes to try to get a cool comp anymore. It's not 2017 Worlds where they can wait till Faker finds them all. You can't do that in this meta, and I trust SKT not to make that read. You could see TL doing it though, and you would hope that a game like this dissuades them. It's why I need that extra piece of information of what SKT look like in their opening group stage games to really get a read on their latest meta read, because I think SKT have evolved the most of any team going to MSI over the course of spring season. 9,000 gold lead, baby. Baolan 0014. When you get into that double digit, it's not about being a secret agent anymore. This is like Leisure Suit Larry. Like, this is some sort of like very prominent person everyone knows about. It's its biggest champion. This is James Bond after RSVPing to a particular like meeting showing up, and that's Baolan's Rakan. He's awesome on the 100% kill participation too. Ridiculous. And then if you're all in, you lose here, right? And then, but all your craft can do is all in. Reminds me of the famous game title, I have no mouth and I must scream. Like, how can you scream if you don't have a mouth? How can you team fight if your comp only team fights and you don't have the items to team fight? Like, holy crap, look at your gal's items compared to rookies. Disgraceful. It's like huge, super duper lead. And yet, all they can do is all in. They can't do anything else with this draft. Good team play from Ning. Just goes and knows a flank is the only way that he can deal with it. Sad you go. He lives. Kind of on crutches, but gets away from it. Why did Rookie complete Morelnomicon? When did he buy it? Let's go back and find that out. It's more interesting than some of the other questions in this game. So this is his item state. He's not going to sell Dark Seal. He probably wants a control ward slot. So he turns Blasting Wand and empty item slot into stopwatch, amp tome, and item completion. So that's... Think about that. Finishing the items 550, I think. It's 550 Morellonomicon, 600 stopwatch, 1150. Amp term is 1585. Anyone want to keep me honest? 1150. Yeah, 1585 gold. So he could have just gone control ward, Needless Large Rod, and he would have been able to fill up his items. Or just control... I feel like Needless Large Rod versus Morellonomicon, which is, you know, some stats, stasis, and also amp tome. I don't think he could afford everything, and I think given item slots, I think it's fine, because he clearly really wants to get the stopwatch, because he knows that the all-in from Orin, Nocturne, Lissandra can one-shot him, and he didn't go Mercs. You go Morellonomicon here to fit in stopwatch into the build, and for it to make sense, I believe is the way he did it. So I think given that, I think it's fine. You know, I understand people are asking the question because of the whole LS argument on Morellonomicon, and to LS's side, Morellonomicon is very good against Lissandra and kind of sucks against everyone else. It's a pretty low value Morellonomicon game, because even if the enemy only has one healing target you want to reduce, Lissandra's self-ult is not going to be the reason you lose a fight. So I think Morellonomicon, if you don't need stasis against huge hard engage, is wrong. I think in this scenario, it's fine. Because the other option was like double Blasting Wand, amp tome. So double Blasting Wand. Because it would have been Blasting Wand and the stopwatch, and then stopwatch and the amp tome. Yeah. Given your amount of item slots, if you're not going to sell 10-stack Dark Seal, I think it's correct. Hey, keep us all honest, man. Like, everyone makes mistakes in analysis and thoughts. Like, I want to make sure that I agree with Rookie. Pro players make item mistakes all the time. Like BDD buying 700 lifeline items was a great example of that. Go back to where we were. Given the I want stopwatch, he probably got the most stuff. Chovy still takes Scorch. I think Scorch is a little bit underrated by LS in that it does very little damage, but in the early game, if you just, you know, get 40 to 60 damage in the early game, it can mean that ganks work that wouldn't work otherwise. I agree that it's overtaken by some people and it's getting buffed, at least on PBE. I don't think Scorch is that trash. It's definitely not fantastic. And now IG can just hit the side lanes, and they've got the Banshee Veil. Void Staff, they got stopwatches for ultra safety on Xin, so Xin can face check for wards, and Zoe can walk up and not worry about being all in from off the screen with Orin plus Nocturne. And you just push up. Like, they got no cares in the world at all to IG in this part. They've taken all the Drakes. Like, it's pretty close to a perfect objective game. It's only one turret to JDG. Too easy. Just styling on him. And IG win very confidently, very easily. They didn't play perfectly. We saw Jackie Love fail in the lane assignment topside, over pushing without ultimate. There was that 8-minute mark where we looked at it and, you know, you do the stress test. You're like, holy crap. You know, JDG are in this game with a teamfight draft, despite, you know, letting themselves be 3-way counterpicked. In fact, 4-way counterpicked, right? Because even the jungle is a counterpick. But then the game can end so fast. And again, it's a change in the Riot balancing approach over the years is more ability to instantly end games and close games out. And Mountain Drake's helped, but Rift Herald and just in general, the frailty of some of those objectives and the high damage in the game means those objectives can explode. And Balan MVP for sure in this game number one, but kind of the thought experiment here is just that people talk about tank metas, and you look at some things and your eyes widen. Like, for example, I'm guilty, and I'm sure a lot of people are, of looking at how much gold Ornn's upgrades give now. Because if you're against a 80 top laner as Ornn, you can go Sunfire, Iceborne Gauntlet. You finish that item and it's 1,600 gold worth of bonus stats. Like, that's so crazy from just one item. And then the Sunfire Cape's another, like, two items. I think that's actually the gold value for Sunfire Cape and Iceborne. But they just added more free stats, and you look at that and you say, man, that's a lot of stats that you're getting for free. Like, for sure, you can be absurdly tanky against double AD comps as Ornn. And Ornn's level 13 is way stronger. But how much of this game was played with level 13 Ornn? Was the game close when it's level 13 Ornn? Like, your first argument is not really. Like, yes, it happens now. The game isn't over, but IG has a huge lead around the map, and they have the 2 item completions compared to 1. And the best thing you have going for you is like an Ornn item is completed. So much of the game happens before level 13. Here we see level 13 hit. The first person in the entire game at 19 minutes. I think IG has games done and dusted pre-19 minutes very often. And then you also consider that the laning phase options with Ornn to get to that point can go a lot worse than 1-1 and 3 very competitive. Like, yes, in this case it's fine, but against double AP, I think the value of the free stats is a bit lower. And the amount of lane matchups you can get away with on Ornn is really only kind of 5th pick, counter pick, or maybe first, second round Ornn pick. You can't pick Ornn early. Because if you pick Ornn early, there's a lot of matchups that slam him. GP slams Ornn. Fiora does very well against Ornn over time. A lot of the carries can be run into Ornn, right? And there's just a real chance you get split to death. And Ornn never really gets the ability to hold split pushes very well. Like, this, engaged tanks can't also 1v1 people is kind of what I'm getting to. So the payoff on something like Ornn is minimal. So how much is the tank meta really going to change things? Like, there are definitely, you see Ornn, you're like, Ornn will definitely be there. But already you're saying how. Like, yes, Ornn will see gameplay, but you can already see how against a team that has the Shy, to some degree Khan as well, like Wonder, like, it's very bold to try to get through that. So you're going to see a little bit of Ornn, but very much in a draft where, like, IG aren't surprised by Ornn, except for the fact that it's their 4th self-counter pick to JDG. Like, it makes sense with the engaged teamfight draft they're drafting. It just doesn't make sense in Season 9, is I guess what I'm coming to. People in chat talking about Nautilus. I think Nautilus mid does competitively in some matchups. I think we won't see him top lane. I think he actually is not great in top lane. Mid support, I think, is his role, and I think Nautilus' numbers are pretty good. Like, he will definitely see play as well. But when it comes to top lane tanks, there isn't a lot. And I think the tank meta, you understood, like, there's definitely a lot of shaving of power away, and I think we will see some tanks, but there has to kind of be a handshake for the tank meta to happen at MSI. And I'm not convinced the Shy or Khan are going to be handshaking this tanks. I think it's too hard to get away with it. Anyways, that's going to be my review of IG versus JDG. Again, a shorter one, but I mostly want to talk about what drafts just can't work against IG. How much IG can smash and grab from ahead. The answer is a lot. And I think I just want more people, and a lot of people watch this LPL final, but have this as a data point when people are talking up IG's chances. Because I think IG can really just slam teams in a way that other teams at this tournament, other than G2, haven't really been doing. And we need to be convinced of other teams being able to do it. We're happy to update and be like, damn, didn't see that coming. Excellently played. Egg on the face. But for now, evidence-based approach. Evidence is IG pretty damn good. So I'm going to take a short break. Come back for our final review of the night. We're going to LEC, baby. We're going to Europe. We're going to the funnel game. What does the funnel game mean? Is there a possibility for a funnel meta at MSI? These are all interesting questions. So I'm going to take a short break, tweet about the LEC review, last review before MSI kicks off, and then answer some questions and call it a night. So thank you for watching so far, guys. Hope you've been enjoying the stream, and we will be back very shortly with the LEC.